So what comics did I pick up this week? Stay tuned to find out. Alright, well thanks for sticking around. It is Wednesday, January 20th, and that means a new day for comic books. Before I get into my picks, I want to encourage you guys to please click that subscribe button down below if you have not done so. Smash that like button, hit that notification bell so you can get updates whenever I post new videos just like this. You can also find me on Instagram at MarkNerdyAF. There I post a bunch of photos about my collecting, whether it be statues, comic books, trading cards, you name it. It is on my Instagram, so go hit me a follow. The first comic for indie titles that I have here is Rain Like Hammers by Image Comics. So this is a 5-issue mini-series. It is written and illustrated by Brandon Graham. Not too familiar who that is. I haven't really read or seen any of his work before, to be honest. But after flipping through this book, I was interested enough to want to buy it. It's a pretty thick book. It's an oversized issue. I think all 5 issues are going to be oversized. But you can see just the overall art style is different. And if you open it up and see the lettering and just the overall like dialogue boxes, it's real different. It's very, I guess I'll call it raw. Like, it doesn't look like it went through a bunch of different reviews and iterations within what you would expect from like a big publication company like DC or Marvel. It seems like Image Comics just gave this Brandon Graham guy kind of liberties to do whatever he wanted with this. So with that said, this guy right here is living in the city, which is actually like, it's actually a moving city. I think they call it an elephant or something. So it's actually traveling throughout this world, and he's kind of just stuck and isolated, it seems, and he's pretty bored. Flipping through it, he was just like maxing all this fast food and playing video games and things like that. I don't know, it looked weird, it looked different. I wanted to give it a try. And the final book I have here for indie titles is Abbott Number One. This is by Boom Studios, and this is a lovely variant cover by Jenny Frison. I believe this is a 1 in 25 or a 1 in 10. I picked it up. I have really been enjoying a lot of her covers. I think she does great work. And from what I've seen in solicitations, this is the main character right here, and she's a journalist. She's been investigating a lot of crimes that the police have actually stopped looking into. And I think one actually has directly impacted her family. I would assume somebody was killed. And that kind of urged her to go out and do things for herself. I don't find it that original, to be honest, of a story. It's not like this is the first time we've ever heard of like a regular civilian taking matters into their own hands because the authorities won't do anything. But I did really like this cover. Jenny Frison is one of my favorites right now in the game. And I will give this one a shot and see how it goes. First book I have here for Marvel is Daredevil 25. This is the second print. And the reason I picked up a second print for this is because this is our first appearance, I guess, as Elektra dressed as Daredevil. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, if you look within the comic book community, you saw everyone was freaking out about the first issue that dropped for this when it happened, when Elektra appeared in this Daredevil costume. And this was actually a page from the interior work. This was taken right out of the book, and they threw it right on the cover. So that's kind of cool. I do like when they do that. Sometimes it depends on what the interior page was. And I believe this was one of the first images within this issue where we see Elektra as Daredevil. So I think it is one of those books that you should try to get in your collection if you can. It's an important moment in Daredevil in history because Elektra has never dressed up as Daredevil before. So if you can get your hands on the second print, go ahead and do so. Next up for Marvel is Black Cat number 2. This week, I mainly picked this up because of the cover. This is a phenomenal Peach Momoko cover featuring Alien. And if you saw my video 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, I was just gushing over these Alien covers because they're that badass. I mean, look at this thing. As for the Black Cat series, the first issue was fine. I think this is actually going to be a pretty important issue because Black Cat now she has like an anti-venom suit that she's going to be wearing, which is going to be pretty important to the King in Black story and tie in, I believe. So, amazing cover B by Peach Momoko. Story's been pretty good. That's the reason I picked this one up. Next is Avengers 41. And this is a 1 in 10 design variant. Not gonna lie, a lot of them I wasn't too fond of. I did think this one was interesting enough though to get. So we have all the Phoenix characters. We have Phoenix Black Panther, Phoenix Nighthawk, and Phoenix Hyperion. All of them are right smack dab on that cover. It's a 1 in 10, so you're most likely going to be paying around $10 for it. That's up to you if you want to shell out that kind of cash. And Avengers overall as a story, it's my opinion, it hasn't been the best thing that Marvel's come out with. That's why I don't pick it up every single week it comes out. But in this case, this cover sold me, so I decided to get it. Last title for Marvel is King in Black number 3. Nothing much to say about this. It's King in Black. This is the biggest event happening in Marvel right now. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but this one is actually called the spoiler variant. I believe that is because of what is happening right here on the cover. You'll see that is Thor, and you will also see that something is happening to him. I'll leave it at that. Who knows, though? Maybe he ends up being okay. We'll see. Sorry if I ruined something, but this was the cover that caught my eye, so I decided to grab it. First book up for DC, we have DC Future State Catwoman. This is an Artgerm cover. Honestly, sometimes I can't tell if it's Artgerm or not because there's like two distinct styles Artgerm goes with. It's like super realism where he like digitally renders characters to look like they still look like video game type characters, but their features and everything look pretty real, digitally real, if that makes any sense. But he also does this, this 2D type anime style art too, which I am a big fan of as well. And this one I didn't even realize was Artgerm at first, but it is one of my favorite covers that came out this week. It isn't my favorite. We'll get to that. What I've read is that in this issue, Catwoman teams up with some allies called the Strays, which we actually got to look into, I believe, in like Catwoman 25 or 24. They were introduced. So she teams up with this ally group, and I'm assuming they fight off some villain. I'm not sure who it's going to be yet. But Catwoman overall, I think you should highly consider picking up this week. I think it might be one of the better Future State titles that we get. So that might actually get my third favorite cover of the week. This, I got to give my second favorite cover, and that's Peach Momoko's cover B for DC Future State Immortal Wonder Woman number 1. We have Princess Diana on the cover here. On cover A, you'll actually see that it says featuring, I think, Princess Diana and Nubia. So this is a different title than what came out with Yara Flores Wonder Woman. This is going to be featuring these two characters, Diana and Nubia. And Nubia actually was debuted in the early 70s as Diana's twin sister. But most notably, she was the first black woman superhero to come from DC. How she was introduced is she was actually kidnapped by Ares or Mars. It's the same thing throughout the whole series of Wonder Woman. They've actually called the god a different name, depending. It's either Ares or Mars, whatever. But Ares kidnapped Nubia, and Nubia eventually found Wonder Woman, and they had different powers because Nubia was brought up differently than how Wonder Woman was. So she is a really important character within the Wonder Woman mythos, and they're giving her a reintroduction into this whole Future State event. So with those reasons, I think you should definitely get your hands on this. Couple more books for DC, and this one is probably the biggest one of the week, and that's DC Future State, The Next Batman, number 2. And if you didn't already guess by now, this is my cover of the week. I think this is going to end up being the most memorable, if not iconic cover of the Future State event, the whole event. With all these titles that we're getting, I think this is the one that you need to pick up. This is actually by an artist I'm not too familiar with. It's Doug Braithwaite. This is cover C. It was really hard for me this week to decide on this one over cover B, which was a Francisco Mattina cover, who I'm a big fan of, but I had to go with this. And the reason for that is because when we were getting solicitations for this whole story, when we got the reveal that this wasn't going to be Bruce Wayne anymore as Batman, somebody else was taking over the mantle, and when they announced that it was Tim Fox, this was what we saw online. This is what DC threw at us. They said, this is Tim Fox's Batman. That's what you're getting, whether you like it or not. And I was actually pretty pleased with it. I thought this is a great idea for right now. If you're doing a Future State, yes, I want to see something different happening with Batman. They're doing Dark Detective. That's a really cool story too. But let's have somebody else as Batman. It's fine with me. It's been done before. It's not like this is the first time we're getting this. Plenty of people have taken on the mantle. I don't know too much about Tim Fox, and I was hoping to learn more in that first issue. Kind of let down. 1/3 of it was about Tim Fox as being the new Batman, and the rest of it was stuff that I really didn't care about. So overall, this series so far for the story hasn't been that great in my opinion. And the reason for that is because they're not focusing it on Tim Fox as much as they should be. Hopefully this issue is different. Hopefully we get a lot happening with him as Batman and how he kind of takes on the responsibilities and how he differs from Bruce Wayne's Batman. Whether you agree with me or not, I truly think that down the road, people, when they talk about Future State, if it is a success or ends up being a huge bomb, they're always going to say, oh, that was the series where Tim Fox was Batman, right? And this is the cover that they're going to remember too. All right, and last up, actually, I'm just going to go with the 2 books here. Both Future State books. The first one here is Nightwing number 1. Second one I have here is Superman Worlds of War number 1. And honestly, guys, when it comes to these DC Future State books, it's going to come down to what characters you prefer, because DC is doing every character they have, at least the popular ones that you know are going to sell. So Nightwing here and Superman. From what I saw in the preview, they're bringing back a classic Jack Kirby villain, but a different version or a different take. And then for Nightwing, we actually, I think, are going to get the first meetup between Dick and Tim Fox's Batman. I'm pretty sure that's what they meant in the solicitation. I have not read it, obviously, so that's yet to be seen. But these are 2 titles that you might want to consider getting. All right, well, that is all my picks for this week's New Comic Book Day. I want to hear from you guys, so comment down below. Let me know if you picked up some of the same books. Let me know if there's something missing that you think I should have picked up. I want to hear from all of you. Also, if you haven't done so already, please support the show and click that subscribe button down below. Smash that like button, hit that notification bell so you can get updates whenever I post new comic book pick videos just like this. But until next time, jumps out.